Hello.
Hi, Rose.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little bit quiet.
Okay, I'll try to speak closer. Can you hear me better now?
It's about the same.
Okay. Okay, I'll try and speak up.
Oh, that's better.
Okay, cool. All right, so firstly, thank you, Rosanna, and thank you, Claire, for joining me. I appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves? Obviously, you have to go take turns.
Yes, so I guess both myself and Claire IFBB pros, or we used to be IFBB pros. Both had quite parallel paths in the way that we've been into lots of different things, lots of sports and things that would require like a lot of physical lots of just being the best at lots of different things. So dancing, bodybuilding, and Claire, you've done
gymnastics, yoga, bodybuilding, dancing.
Yeah, all sorts of different things. So then we had both got into the bodybuilding. Myself, I got into bodybuilding around 2004 and did my first show in 2007 and just went on a mad 15-year journey of getting the pro card, competing, doing really all the shows, getting to the Olympia stage. Just taking something to the absolute extreme and seeing how good I could be at that sport, how far I could go with it, pushing the boundaries with like what a woman was capable of, pushing the boundaries of, I guess, what was socially acceptable of a woman as well, like how she should look. So it would be dealing with kind of going against the grain a little bit, which was something that I enjoyed doing a lot growing up and then getting into adult life as well. And yeah, Claire can tell you her bodybuilding past, I guess.
Yeah, mine's not as long, so like maybe I did it for 4 or 5 years. Finished a few years ago, but I guess I was already prepped for it because I'd been weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, CrossFit for a good few years beforehand competitively. So I already had a lot of muscle, and I was a dancer, a gymnast, I did yoga only for 10 years. So I went to India, did the whole spiritual journey, and then went to bodybuilding. So a bit of a crazy like mishmash of things, but I was drawn to fitness because it has that dance, gymnastics, strength, performance. So that was the big like appeal for me. And I remember watching those girls when I was really young on TV on Eurosport, I think it was, like doing these mad performances, and I always wanted to do that. Loved how they looked. I liked the idea of being looking deadly, doing mad tricks, and yeah, so I was just all in on it for a good few years. Didn't push the boundaries as much as Rosie because it was fitness. You don't really need to be as big. I guess on Olympia level you do, but yeah, I got my pro card eventually, but I never competed as a pro. I just kind of fell out of love with it at that point because I started to look at all the boys I was doing it and things just started to fall apart.
Okay, Rose. So, well, what reason was it for you that you actually decided to do? To go through the path that you did? Was it? I know you told me that you just wanted to go against the grain, but was there any kind of greater reason than that?
So yeah, I guess I was drawn to things that were challenging. So I didn't usually take the easy route with stuff. Like I did dancing before. So before I came to bodybuilding, I was doing dancing and I was singing. And then for my university, for my degree, which was contemporary dance, the tutor had just said that I needed to be stronger because I had like flexibility and I had the technique and all of that kind of thing, but I didn't have that kind of strength, and like, so some of the moves I couldn't be as powerful and dynamic. So I started lifting weights because of that, really. And the guy that I started dating at the time, who I ended up staying with for a long time, he was into bodybuilding, and he showed me how to train to gain muscle. And I guess it was like exciting to see how quickly I responded to it, and how strong I was, because I was so tiny. I only weighed about 6 stone, which I think is, I don't know what in kilogram, but it's below, yeah, it's like 47, 48 kilogram or something.
Sure.
But I was so strong. And I think because of all the years of dancing, my ligaments and tendons and everything were really supple and strong. So I could shift weight even before I'd actually built all that much muscle. So that was part of it. It was just exciting, to be really good at something. And then I guess I got a lot of attention. And I felt like I was unique, because not as many people did it back then, especially not where I wanted to go, because I was really attracted to the big, huge, freaky women. Like I used to follow like the Iris Kyle and Lenda Murray and all of that, and I was like, I wanted to look like them. I wanted to go like full freak mode. So like I was becoming something unique, which I guess at that time I already was unique, but didn't feel it in my core. So bodybuilding gave me some sort of sense of self. It gave me a community of people that seemed to respect me and seemed to feel that I had like something of value. So I guess there was like things like that playing a part that I wasn't aware of at the time. And then I did my first show in the 2007 and won it. And yeah, I guess it was just like getting that feedback of people, drove me to see how far I could go with it. I wanted to be the best at something, and it seemed like, you know, I really enjoyed training. I enjoyed the challenge. I liked feeling strong, like the attention. It seemed like a pretty good place to pursue becoming great at something. It did mean that I gave up all of my dancing, gave up all of my singing. So like looking back, I feel like I did sacrifice a lot for it, but it was just this mad pull at the time that kind of overruled anything else. It definitely overruled a lot of sense a lot of the time, but yeah, that was the drive really for me.
Okay, and then what kind of point was it for you and Claire to say, all right, now I need to take things to the next level, because obviously that required anabolics, right?
So for me, like both me and Claire were a little bit different, because I was already, my frame was really not meant for bodybuilding. Like I am not a natural gainer of muscle builder at all. So I guess for me it was like I could have stayed natural, but there was absolutely no way in hell that I would ever have reached where I wanted to go as a natural. It's just not possible. And so for me it was like, because I wanted to be one of these freaky bodybuilders, it was like pretty early on I decided that's the route I was going to take. So I think like I did one show natural. I think I did like 4 years of training with nothing, and my first show natural, and then from there it was like, okay, now it's time to step over to the dark side, because that's just like the reality of it. Like that's the reality of it. There will be some women that can do it naturally, like your bikini girls won't need anything. Some will take stuff, but they shouldn't really, they don't need it. You'll get some women that would do like a lot of the fitness girls could do it naturally, I guess, but not once you got to like Olympia level. It's like when you get to pro level, it'll be so rare to find anyone that's not taking something. It's just not, it's not a natural state for the body to be in. Even someone that is naturally muscular, it's like to get to that level, and for a woman to get so shredded, yeah, you need a little help from a friend.
Even for like the fat burners and stuff, like I did my first good few shows natural, and then it was like, well, I need to be shredded, and I got obsessed with being shredded like all year round. So then it was like, how many fat burners could I take? And I was never like, I tolerance for anything on a fat burner level, but like diuretics, I take them a lot just to be like, just to look shredded. So it became like a bit of an abuse of like my body on that level of trying to stay lean. So like for shoots and for things in between shows, and never really gave myself a chance to do off seasons because I was always booked for different things. So like when you step it up on that level, it becomes unhealthy because you're never really getting a break from it.
Yeah, okay, and who kind of helped you guys? Was it all self-taught, or did someone kind of show you the way, what to take, what to use?
For me, I was really fortunate that the guy that I started dating was very clued up on a lot of things, nutrition, supplements, training. So I spent 10 years with him, and it was just me and him just kind of playing at it, really, like just doing whatever seemed to work. We didn't really have like the kind of knowledge you see coaches that have that coaches have nowadays. Like we really weren't clued up to that level at all. Like for so many years, I didn't even know about rep pace in training. Like I just went and trained and made sure I trained really hard. I didn't have a clue. I didn't even like track my lifts for years, like seriously, until I turned pro. I didn't even know hardly anything really. And then it wasn't until 2015 for me that I got a coach, because I was just like, I really, really just knew I had to step up with everything and get this goddamn pro card. Because I felt like I couldn't walk away until I got this pro card. So I worked with a guy called Patrick Tour. And he was just so much more knowledgeable, and he guided me. It just took me to that next level and really helped me to get the pro card then, and keep me a little bit more accountable, because I had issues. Hello?
Yeah, hi, Rose and Kay. I'm sorry about this. It's like every single time this actually happens, like the first half happens, but it is saved. So can we leave? I'm sorry. Can we go back to where we lost it off? You're saying that you had a guy that kind of showed you the ropes.
Was that when I was talking?
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry about it. Just kind of.
That's all right. Yes. So then when I really wanted to get my pro card, because I basically for a lot of the time when I was competing, I was also like a crazy party animal. So I was out clubbing all the time. So I was training really hard, but I was kind of holding myself back because I was clubbing a lot. When I stopped all of that, that was like when I got my head down, and I felt like it was just so important for me to get this pro card. So I got to work with a guy called Patrick Tour, and we started working together 2015, and he just had so much more knowledge than me, like so much more. So he just allowed me to step up to the next level, and he gave me the accountability that I needed at that time, to kind of step out of the comfort zone I'd gotten into with things. So yeah, and then Claire kind of had a different journey with.
Yeah, because I came from CrossFit and like being competitive in sports and stuff, I was used to training for performance. So like on a food level, you feel yourself for performance, to lift heavy, to move quickly, to be an athlete basically. So I didn't really know much about bodybuilding. I'd never actually done bodybuilding at all. So I went straight to a coach that was kind of known just in Ireland, and to be honest, he didn't really, looking back now, have much nutritional knowledge at all. It was really basic, and I was almost blindly trusting of it because I just didn't know what it took to be in that shape. But I stayed with him for my first show, and then after that I decided I needed someone else, because I was competitive. I wanted to give it a good go, and I got Mark Robinson in Cardiff Sports Nutrition in the UK, and I started competing in CrossFit again after doing my first bodybuilding show, and he kind of was working with me through that to put on muscle, and he was very good, never pushing me to take anything. He was always telling me the opposite, actually. I was always like, do I need to take something? Telling me no. So I didn't, and yeah, I stayed with him for my whole pro journey. But to be honest, I was doing it myself because I'd gotten to know my body so well that I just was checking in with him when I felt like I needed an eye to tell me like how many carbs to put in or not. And every show was so different that even for me, it confuses me when I look back on it, because my body was always just responding differently on different seasons and everything. So yeah, it was kind of a journey of figuring out that I didn't need a coach in the end. But you kind of want that person to support you. And for me, it was more like I just wanted someone to thank at the end of it, even though I had done the work.
And what kind of side effects, like during the journey, have you kind of noticed? Like, was there any side effects?
Yeah, so like again, probably for me, it was like a little bit more extreme, maybe. As far as like what the actual drugs would have done. I think we both suffered side effects quite badly from the practices we were doing with food and just the extremes that we were going to physically, and like the stress and just not giving ourselves what we really needed to function properly. But yeah, for me, the side effects, I guess one of the main ones I struggled with was the hair loss. It was really because I had such thick hair anyway, but the steroids, of course, because they play around with the female hormones, and then if you're putting in a male hormone and you haven't got all that nice estrogen in there to help your hair be nice and healthy, so I would get like a lot of hair thinning. And that was something that was like one of the big reasons why I stopped, because it was just like, how far am I going to go with this? Like, do I really want to like not have any hair to win a goddamn trophy? It just started seeming ridiculous. But I had like a lot of gut problems as well, again probably because of stress, imbalance of hormones. It can change your skin. Like, to be honest, I've been very, very lucky. I've been so lucky with the extremes I took it to, and then how I've been able to bounce back and how I look now. And it took a little bit of work to undo some of the damage, like your voice can deepen. And that was something that I experienced. But again, like the things that I've experienced and been left with are really so minimal compared to what they could have been, or what other women put themselves through. And it can really be like that. You could have a woman that would take half the amount of stuff that I did and leave with way worse side effects, just because of how she's set up, you know, her chemistry, her natural chemistry. If you have a woman that comes in that is naturally higher in the male sex hormone, and then she starts putting whatever Anavar or whatever it is in, she's going to get way more side effects. And I think my state naturally is much more estrogen dominant. So whenever I put anything in, I still had this natural buffer going on to stop like my face really going masculine, or like I've never suffered with, you'll get a lot of women that will get like leathery thick skin and it looks very masculine, or they'll get like dark facial hair
or a big jaw.
Yeah, or their jaw will grow. You know, some of these bigger side effects. But yeah, I never had anything like that. And I think really it was just down to this buffer that I had, my natural hormones.
I feel like I would have been one of those women that would have gotten loads of mad side effects if I'd taken loads of stuff.
Yeah, because like Claire's naturally quite muscular, so her hormones levels are already sort of
in that direction,
in that range. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always had muscle, like as even from a kid, I always had biceps. So I can imagine if I had abused steroids on that level, that I would have been, I would have been hinged.
Yeah, yeah.
And side effects. I didn't really have any bad side effects because I didn't abuse anything on that level. But like in regards to my health, like I lost my period, my nails stopped growing, my hair stopped growing. Energy levels would have been very up and down. Like after shows, I'd have like a big, massive crash of energy. So like adrenal fatigue probably. But like when you're in flow with it, none of that stuff really affects you because you don't care, because you're winning and you're enjoying it, and you know it's all in. But like it's when I decided that I wasn't in flow with it anymore, and I didn't want to compete anymore, that I really started to struggle to train. Like almost fell out of love with training completely. So it really affected everything that I loved about training, which was shit, because I that all of my life I've really loved every sort of training, so that like kind of dampened that a little bit. But yeah, it's back now. Like I like to run and stuff. But yeah, it just was a bit difficult to let go of mentally at the end, and to actually let go of that identity was probably hard mentally more than anything. That would be like a big side effect of like almost like a depression phase, but it wasn't depression.
Okay, so what kind of made you guys like take a step back? Obviously, it was due to like putting so much pressure on each other. I mean, sorry, yourselves.
Just quit.
So, like for me, I got my pro card in the 215, and that is when everything started to unravel. I think I'd spent so many years working towards getting this pro card, and then I pushed my body to the extreme on that prep. That prep was one of the most enjoyable preps I've ever had, but I did get the leanest I'd ever been. And the rebound afterwards, because we just didn't rebound me very well. Just like the removal of some of the supplements was just like they were taken out straight away instead of tapered. And I had this mad rebound hormonally from it. And to be honest, I never really recovered from it because I just couldn't lose body fat after that, because my body was so all over the place and my stress levels were really high. And then I had, because it was the first time I'd really had a coach, when I was having issues with the losing the body fat, and then I had to check in with the coach. It was so stressful checking in and not coming with the results you wanted. And it was just this mad loop of like feeling shit, feeling like I wasn't good enough, wondering had I let him down, all this crap. And it just started to make me ill. It felt like I'd be outside the gym crying because I didn't even want to train. But I would just go in and do like a poor session. And then, of course, when I was competing, my body didn't look how I wanted it to look. So I'd always been used to coming on stage, and obviously every time was different, but I was always like placing very high. And that was one of the things that I loved about the competing, the fact that I was really good at it, the fact that I was competitive. I always knew I was going to be like up there to kind of get one of the top spots. And I could just feel that my body just looked rubbish compared to what it had. I'd already been doing it 15 years. I was like 37 or whatever by this point. And there was other girls coming up in my category that were like 22, 23, 24. They've only just started, but they were bigger than me already. They were getting more ripped than me. The category of women's physique, when I joined it, the look was the Dana Lynn Bailey, which was a look that I liked. And there was Juliet Malacan, a look that I liked and felt that I could work towards. And the girls that they started rewarding were just way, way out of what I was ever capable of getting to without really damaging myself. So it was just like there were just so many things that kind of all came in alignment for me to step out. So I did my last show at the London Two Bros, and I was just like, yeah, this is none of it is worth it anymore. And because I'd done it for so long, I was just like, do I really want to do another year of my life doing the same thing? Like, there's so many things I want to experience in life and do, and places I want to go. bodybuilding is really, if you want to be good, it's so restrictive, and you have to love every second of it to be asked to do that at that level, and I didn't, so that was it. Yeah.
And for me as well, like I won the amateur Olympia in Liverpool that Rosie won, and I was actually denied my pro card, and they told me that it's just federation stuff. They told me that I have to do and win another show, like of equal caliber as that one. So I went, and I didn't really know because I was quite new to the industry. I didn't really care either because I was like, oh, I'll just win another one. So I picked like Arnold's in South Africa. I think it was like 6 months later. And I actually had massive issues with the Irish Federation. And they were trying to stop me from competing because I just wasn't licking ass, or I don't really know what their beef was. But yeah, I had issues. So it wasn't really... it wasn't a fun time for me then, but I finally went to Arnold's anyway. I managed to end up going, and I won that, and I still didn't get my pro card. And at that point, I knew there was something funny up, and that I just was like, well, I've done what they've asked me to do, and I still didn't get it, and I just couldn't be bothered now. I'm just like, it kind of knocked me back a little bit, that I just didn't want to keep putting all of this energy and effort into something that didn't feel worth it anymore.
And money.
Yeah, money as well. It's so much money to go to these shows and compete and then win and do exactly what they've asked you to do, and then still to be denied it. It's without any explanations. So I think it was maybe 6 months after that, I was coaxed over to do a WFF show instead of Ifbb, and I did it almost as an FU. And I actually ended up winning that, and then I went into the pro show and I won that all on the same day. And for me, that show just wasn't the same caliber as Ifbb. So it was more of I'm just going to do it because I wanted to do it. And I go of competing after that. And funnily, like the minute I started to let go of it, like I was like always dreaming to have that pro card from when I started. And all of that stuff happened with the split in the federation, and someone tagged me in something and said that I should have a look at this, giving the pro cards that were denied unfairly to people, past athletes that had actually won them or should have won them and should have received them. So I got an invite over to London and got my pro card then, and it was almost like an amazing moment, but at the same time I'd already started to let go of the idea of competing. So the minute I got it, it was like, oh my God, I can actually compete as a pro. And then at the same time I was like, but I don't really want to anymore. So I spent like the next kind of 1.5 to 2 years of trying to force myself to pick and do a pro show when my energy was not aligned with it at all. So it was a really big struggle for like 2 years of forcing myself to try and go to the gym and pick this pro show. And it was just, it was very hard for me to finally admit that I wasn't going to do it. But just because of all of the experience that I had with it, like not even sour about it. It was just that I wasn't aligned with it anymore, and I didn't want to. I didn't feel the need to prove myself on that level anymore. So I just started to let go of it. And then after I made the decision, it was very easy. It just was like, well, that was not necessary anymore. And like Rosie, I have loads of stuff that I want to do. And yeah, competing was just very draining financially. Everything goes into it, all of your time, all of your efforts. I had isolated myself for 4 years of my life just so that I could be successful in it. Your work suffers, nothing else matters, your relationships suffer. So yeah, I just started to shed the illusions that I was holding on to about that identity.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw quite a hard question at you guys. If you guys knew what you knew today, would you still have done the competitive side of things?
Yeah, because I guess it's like the things that you learn along the way, like say for example the work that both me and Claire do now. If we hadn't have experienced the extremes and the extreme end of the polarities of the bodybuilding, we wouldn't have the insight that we now have about the way we live now, and about all of the real reasons why we did bodybuilding, and the way that seeing those so clearly can help us unravel other people's problems when they're stuck. And just because we were so, like, bodybuilding is something that is so easy to get so attached to. Yeah, you get sucked in, and you can get so attached to the identity that it is so interesting once you let that go and fully let it go, because you can see then when other people are stuck in identities or stuck in patterns that are really not helping them grow, they're not fulfilling them. So yeah, because that's like, we can talk about the work a little bit later on, but that's one of the things that we do is allow to connect to their true selves and their greater purpose, and see the illusions that we all so easily get sucked into. And it's quite hard to get out if you don't have the right direction or someone to kind of point things for you.
And I really needed that experience as well. Like, I needed to do the bodybuilding to see what it felt like to be that shredded, because that was something that loads of people, or most people, kind of try and do in the gym. Even just people who are training, they want to see what it feels like to be in that shape. And you need the experience of what that feels like to realize that it's not necessary to be a good person. And you just need to go to the extremes. So for me, being like from yoga to Zen, complete Zen life, not taking any selfies because I was terrified of people thinking I was vain, to like on stage, Ifbb pro, look at me, take photos, like, really extreme, like two different polarities. So I really needed those two experiences to come back to center and realize the truth in what I was doing. So we would never tell anyone to not do it either.
No.
Everyone needs their own experiences.
Yeah. And also it's like being in such a sort of masculine state, like especially for me, taking actual like a masculine a male hormone, it's like to actually feel that and go through that and then come out of it and be a little bit softer and a little bit more feminine with the kind of approach to life. It's a valuable thing to have experienced that. And you also keep an element of strength, that both physical and mental, that you wouldn't have had before if you hadn't have experienced that. So for example, if I train a woman that has never trained before, or a man, anyone that's never lifted heavy weights or done anything really physically challenging, it feels like like they want to cry. Like they're like, oh, how many reps? Like, oh, this, they feel like it's so hard, and you can see that it's just such a, like, they really don't want to done it to that level in such a competitive way, and it becomes the way you live, and you really love it, and you become addicted to being challenged in that way. You're kind of left with that, like you could always tune into that at any point if you wanted to.
More capable.
Yeah, like you've just got this kind, it's almost like you can imagine your body's just made of something a little bit stronger, and you've got that at your fingertips if you ever need it again.
Cool. Okay, and then can you tell us about yours and Claire's thing you guys got going on?
The business. Yeah.
So it's called Yo-Yo and myself and Rosie met at that first show, not that first show, but the show that we both should have won our pro cards. You won yours.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like that's the first time I met Rosie or come across her, and we were both sponsored by Ronnie Coleman, so we ended up like at Body Power together and doing a few different random photo shoots in Ireland and stuff. And we're always laughing at the photos from these things now.
Yeah.
But we kind of felt from the very start that we would come together and do something, because we were so alike. We were like kindred spirits, like very similar in personalities, both dancers, into like just having fun, really silly. And also that we had a little bit more to us than just the bodybuilding. So when we both decided, funnily enough, to let it go around the same time, we kind of knew that we would come together and do something, but it took a few years for it to actually happen. I let go of a different fitness business last year, and when that happened, Rosie just split up with our partner, and we just decided that, you know, there's space now to actually create something. So I moved over to the UK and we just started to create it. We weren't even sure what it was going to be, but we just knew it was going to be empowering. It's going to help the people that might fall out of the industry, that really need guidance on how to get their lives back together. So yeah, now we're coaching loads of different types of people, and from all walks of life, and really just working on a full holistic level of their life. So the full wheel of life around relationships, food, training, how they feel about all sorts of things. And so really like life coaching as well, but looking at every aspect of their life and to find any blind spots or holes that are disempowering them or holding them back from achieving their full potential, and really connecting them to a higher purpose. So helping people figure out what their purpose is. Yeah, and it's just been really rewarding. So all of our clients are online. We do coaching calls. We do stuff like hypnotherapy, NLP. Like we do diets, like different types of diets, but it's more on a holistic level, like on how to rebalance their hormones and how to make them well and feel good and energized, and like looking at things like ancient Ayurveda medicine and like natural therapies and kind of shamanic healing. Like we do a big mad mixture of stuff.
There's all sorts of stuff that we've kind of started to bring in now. It's like, because both myself and Claire had issues with food at various times. One of the big things that we started off doing was helping people that had also like a relationship with food that wasn't allowing them to kind of live a full and happy life. So we would get people coming to us that were like overweight, or they were binge eating, or like various things going on. And we already knew that there was always going to be a deeper layer to why people have these dysfunctional patterns with food. So yeah, that's when we started delving deeper and deeper with the clients, and it became clear to us that we had a lot more to give than just writing diets out. Or we did like a big course, like an intuitive eating course, because one of the big things for us when we left bodybuilding helped you unravel all these programs that you've built up around food, like feeling like you have to eat protein with every meal, you have to eat every 2 hours, you have to eat 6 meals. It's like, especially for me, I've done it for 15 years. It was like unraveling all of that and then tuning back into your own inner wisdom about what you need for nourishment. So we designed a big program for that that's been amazing for people, to educate them on like emotionally what they need, nutritionally, for actually, you know, just getting them the minerals and the vitamins that they need. And yeah, like everything's about giving people the education and the insight and the empowerment for their own growth, that they wouldn't even need a coach, you know.
Okay, cool. And then so sorry, how does someone actually contact you guys for this? Through Instagram? Or...
Yeah, through Instagram. They can get me on the Rosanna Hart, or Claire, what's yours?
Claire McGrath __, and then yo-yo-om is yo-yo-om __, or it's yo-yo-om.com.
Yeah,
the name is funny.
And okay, so how's your diet now versus then? Because obviously right now you said a few things about how your diet's changed. What's been the leaving out protein or consuming more or less calories? How's it been?
the diet's so different. Like, I don't even think people would believe it. Like, so before I would eat, like if I was prepping for a show, it would be 6 meals a day plus a post-workout shake with whatever, like Fatago or something. So I would be having chicken, steak, salmon, eggs, some vegetables, but not many, sweet potato, rice, porridge. So I would be doing that, no fruit, but then it would be with binges. So I would have that set up, and then I would have like a few binges a week, two binges a week maybe, with like 6,000-7,000 calories worth of processed junk food. Now, like I stopped binge eating 2016, and then I had like an unraveling of emotional eating after that, and stress eating. So that would just be erratic, but it wasn't excess. So now my food is just like there's zero, like I have no plan. I have no idea what I'm going to eat from one day to the next. We just make sure we buy lots of really good foods in. So we have loads of fruit in the house. We have different veggies. We've got rockets, salads and stuff in the fridge all the time. We've got carrots. We make like this carrot dip with cream coconut and cucumber and stuff. We hardly eat any protein.
Just eggs.
Just that eggs. Yeah.
A little bit of salmon, some goat's cheese. Like, it's really intuitive. Like, for me, I'll go through phases of like the same food every day. Like, I'm on a rice noodle egg phase at the moment, where it's super plain, but it's like, because we're working so much, we just need food that fuels us, basically.
Yeah, something that's quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just like, I don't eat. We wouldn't eat like set times or anything. We just have food in the cupboards, and it's like there's no counting, no like we wouldn't have a clue how many calories or macros we eat, and we certainly don't try and track anything to remain a certain size or shape. We wouldn't be like, oh God, I've eaten more today, so I better go for a walk. Like,
definitely not.
Yeah, there's absolutely no plan to it. It's just literally day by day listening. And it's like, if we had some study we needed to do, we would know that if we had like a big, heavy, high carb meal, you might be feeling a little bit like sleepy afterwards. So we wouldn't do that, knowing that we had to function more optimally for that particular thing. If Claire knows she's going for a run, maybe she's going to eat some fruit or something first to make sure she doesn't go hypo halfway around or whatever. So it's always just
intelligent.
Yeah.
And listening to what you need as well. So like, really on an energetic level, what do I feel like every day? And I usually don't eat until quite late in the day, because it just suits me to do that. And I'll have maybe like 1 or 2 meals. I won't even have many meals, and then I'll have loads of fruit or, you know, whatever I feel like if I'm still hungry. It's like really intuitive and like listening on a deep level to, like, I'll crave certain foods. Like, I might crave some citrus food because I might be low in some vitamins, or just really listening to like what you actually want. And it's totally alien from coming from like always following an external plan telling you what to eat. And it's the hardest thing for people to really let go of when we coach them through it. But we've got all the programs there for it. Like, we have a Fuel Your Passion to actually do what we were talking about there with like fueling for your work. So you eat differently if you need to perform mentally as opposed to physically. If you're an athlete, differently for performance. So yeah, there's loads of layers to being smart about your food, I guess. But it's mostly about intuition and listening and learning to listen to the internal dialogue about what you actually need.
Okay, and then how's your guys' training now completed then?
Well, we don't train. Like, I stopped training. Claire's not trained for ages now, and I stopped training around January completely, because before I was still working in a gym. So while I was still working there, I was still doing little bits and bats while I was there, like maybe like weights twice a week or whatever. But now we just don't. Like, Claire loves running, yoga. Like, if because we work a lot sat down because we're working online. So it's really like, okay, how long can we do this until the body says no? And then it's like, okay, now I need to go do some dancing, or I need to stretch or go for a run because my hip flexors feel super tight. So again, it's just listening to the body. Like, yeah, and there's no, like, we just don't, it's not driven by the aesthetics. Like, who cares if your right bicep is bigger than your left? Or, do you know, like, these were the things I was driven by for so long, like trying to create the absolute perfect symmetry of my body with muscle. So it's so funny now, like,
how we don't care at
Yeah,
all.
you just don't care at all, like, about any of it. So it's really just about the feeling. Do I feel like I'm a little bit stiff, so I need to move? Do I feel like maybe like my posture is lacking because there's something not so stable around my back, so maybe I need to do something, you know, some body weight stuff. So it's just listening to how we feel.
Okay, so are you guys a lot more happier now, seeing that you're doing what you really want than before?
Well, I guess it's kind of like we were really happy a lot of the time when we were doing what we were doing before, because when we were aligned with it, it was like, it was flow. Yeah. So when I was working towards getting my pro card, it was hard and I was not so healthy, I guess, but I was so excited to be doing that. So it's always easy to kind of look back and say, oh, I'm happier now, because you've got all this kind of insight then, haven't you, to where you've been, and maybe you feel like you're a more effective human being now. I mean, I guess I'm more healthy. I feel more calm and centered and have more clarity about what I'm doing. And I know from looking back now that there's more truth in where I am now. Like, there's not as many layers of all those illusions behind what I was doing then. But I don't know, I felt pretty happy at the time.
I was as well, but I think if I had stayed doing that against my, if I didn't want to do it anymore, so if I had tried to force it and stay there from like holding on to that image or that identity, I would have been very unhappy.
Yeah.
It's because I went through 2 years of not loving training at all. That made me very unhappy.
Yeah.
So when I was in flow of competing, yes, I was very happy, loved every minute of it, would not take that back for my life. I loved it. But now I feel a lot more stable and unwavering. So a lot more capable of dealing with anything that comes my way, a lot more emotionally stable. I love what we're doing. So yeah, it's hard to compare because the lives are so different. But yeah, day to day, I'm extremely happy and loving my life and thankful that we can do this.
Okay, great. And did you guys still like have a cheat meal, or is it something of the past?
Well, I guess because there's no plan. There's no off food. It's like if we one day want chocolate or pizza, we just have it. There's never oh, you can't have this, but you can have this. There's not clean food and dirty food. There's not good and bad. It's all there, and we're listening to what we want for our health and how we feel. If one day we feel like we want chocolate or a pizza, we just go and have it. Like, so it could be on a Tuesday, it could be on a Friday, like who knows when it's going to be. It's just like, and also it's like listening to why we want it.
Yeah.
Do we want it because we have had a stressful week and we want to use the food to soothe a little bit? Like, yeah, we might do, and we're kind of aware and conscious of that.
We're laughing about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
More on an awareness level when you're eating and you're working with like people who have food issues and us of having food issues before, you're able to look at stuff and realize why you want it. And it's not just because I want something nice. It's like, well, actually I'm soothing something now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's allowing it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. We're happy to have chocolate if we want it.
And what are you guys' future goals with obviously yo-yo and everything else?
So I guess just continuing to build everything that we're doing so that we can spread our vibration to as many people as possible. We are working towards building a members site, a member section on our website, so that we can have like so much of what we've learned over the years in there, in videos, documents, programs, for people to come in and learn from us and just like kind of join into our little stream and just try hopefully to kind of shed some light for as many people as possible, because it would have been nice for us to have had this at that time when we felt a little bit lost. So yeah, if we can kind of light the way for people that were where we were, doesn't mean they had to be bodybuilders. It's just where we were.
Lost.
Yeah, like lost emotionally, and so on. That would be the goal. Bringing out these different books that we've started writing. We'd like to go traveling so that we can experience different practices from the different cultures that they have been where they first started, so we can be taught by the best and most authentic teachers. So we hope to go to India as soon as all of this lockdown stuff is over.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Any last word that you want to leave with the audience listening? Like any words of encouragement or motivation?
I would say that motivation is an illusion. This is my favorite thing. You're either in flow or you're not in flow. You're either moving towards something or away from it. So the idea of having motivation is an illusion. You either want something or you don't want it. If you are forcing yourself to go to the gym or to train or to do something, there's actually something in your system that's actually a really big don't want. So I would be looking at that if you are struggling with motivation and looking for it externally, to look internally at the why you're doing something and what you actually want.
Okay, fair enough. Claire and Rosanna, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I think it's great what you guys are doing. And I hope you guys carry on growing and growing. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, guys. So the recap with my podcast with Claire and Rosanna is as follows. I really think that what they're doing is noble. I really think it's something close to the hearts, and that's the main way to success, not just for them, but for the people that they will be working with. I think it's fantastic. I think it's what the industry needs, just some real, honest, good people, helping one another find their own path. And that's definitely the most important thing, not just in the fitness industry, but just in general life and well-being. Because end of the day, your health is what matters. And, I think lots of people do get fixated as how they look, what kind of appearance they need to keep up. And obviously that causes some stress, and without a doubt will cause some issues one way or another, whether it's binge eating, whether it's stress, anxiety, panic attacks, whatnot. So I definitely do feel that what Claire and Rosanna are offering is something really phenomenal and something beneficial. So definitely do check them out. I will leave their details of Yo-Yo at the bottom in the description. So again, guys, thank you for listening. And Claire and Rosanna, it has been a pleasure. I just think this was real interesting, obviously talking about the Ifbb and your guys' competitive days, and just living a happy and fulfilling life now. But as you guys did say, you wouldn't take it back for the world. Your experiences that bodybuilding fitness has given you